Getting my slides ready, I'd like to say, I don't know what Farid heard when I was saying on the radio, but certainly not, the ultimate aim is not to get a model, body as a model, because that's not really my aim is health. Alright, so he might have heard slightly different, or he might have heard what he wanted to hear. Well, he's just getting the slides. We probably won't want to waste time. I'll start with Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dr. PNC, Prof. Zamrin, panel speakers, and respected audience. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. I think when I came this morning and when I'm standing right here, I think it's very motivating and inspiring to see such a heavenly turnout this morning. You know, coming to faculty, coming to this seminar to hear about food and medicine, food and health. All right, food and health. So food and health. This food and slideshow. Food and health has been. It's not something new. It's something you have all heard about. Am I right? We've all heard about food and health. So what is new about today's talk? Today is also fundamentally and essentially about food and health, but we thought we'll come from a different perspective, and that we'll talk about low carbohydrate diet and its impact on health. And why is this important? This is important because the conventional advice that's been given to the general public as well as doctors in the medical fraternity is no different. The conventional advice is of low-fat diet. Have you heard of that? Is of the pyramid, which was mentioned earlier, and later on it was the Eat Well guide. But all this diet, essentially low-fat and high-carb. I just want to get a show of hands. How many of us have heard about low-fat diet? Can I get a show of hands? Siapa? Rendah lemak. Siapa pernah dengar? Saya rasa all my patients and my friends, they would all know minyak tak boleh makan. Alright? Tapi nasi semua boleh makan. Alright? So how many of us have heard about, or how many of us think we know about low-carb diet as much as we know about low-fat diet? Yeah, but very much less. Interesting that it's less, but not surprising. It's interesting. Let me tell you why it's interesting. It's interesting because low-carb diet has been in existence and has been documented in the medical fraternity. More than, guess how long? More than 200 years ago. Right? More than 200 years ago. So, but it's not surprising that many people or not many people know. Why not many people know? Is because it has been, next one. It has been forgotten. All right, it has been forgotten. So this topic is more apt or more suitable if you put it as low carbohydrate diet and all but forgotten paradigm. It's not new. It's not something that UPSC thought of. It's not something that I dreamt of or I dream of. It's something very old but has been forgotten. This one, huh? Okay. So the outline of my talk, so that just people can follow what I'm talking about, we'll talk a little bit about what's currently happening, although you've heard about the first two speakers, Datuk Waka and Prof. Zamrin mentioned what's currently happening in Malaysia. And then we'll talk about how did we get here? Essentially, how did we become so fat and how did we become infected with diabetes? And then we'll go on to talk about low-carb, healthy fat. And in my talk, we'll focus on low-carbohydrate diet. The next speaker, YB Dr. Azman, will talk to you about healthy fats. And is this just theoretical? Is this what we read about? Is this just what doctors talk about? Or does it work? That's what we want to know. Is it practical? All right, does it work? Do we have results? So what's currently happening? Can you guess in Malaysia? What's currently happening with obesity? Yeah, it's on the rise. It's no big surprise, right? It's on the rise. So the graph on your left, right? Am I right? On your left. Is the graph from 2015 by the National Health and Morbidity Survey, and it's two graphs are shown. One is on overweight, the statistics on overweight, and the other one is on obesity. And actually, when I saw overweight, I was quite happy because it looks like a plateau. It's like we're doing something well. But look, maybe these people have migrated into the obesity side because you see, it's on the rise. All right, so it's not. So my elation or my happiness was very short-lived. All right, so it's about from 1996. Both graphs are from 1996 to 2015. And from 1996 hinggalah 2015, overweight atau masalah kesihatan has risen up to about 1.8 times, almost double. All right, and this shouldn't be so, considering the dietary advice that we've been given. All right, it's supposed to make us all healthy. And obesity has risen about fourfold. And if we don't do something, it's going to increase even more, and that's not good. This is very serious, and we have to give very serious attention to a serious problem. On the other slide, beside it, is the rate of diabetes. Diabetes was about 6.9% in 1996. It has risen and it continues to rise up to about 18% now, and that makes it about 2.54. Okay, another serious problem. And if you heard from, I think Prof Jamil mentioned that are we the fattest in Asia? Are we the fattest nation in Asia? Sadly, yes, we are the fattest. Why? You see, why is obesity a problem? Because it's a risk factor. Okay? It is a risk factor for a lot of non-communicable diseases, including diabetes as well as heart disease, okay, and other metabolic problems. All right? And how did we get here? Now, because we want to know how we got here, and because I said it's not a new problem, we have to go in a little bit or dwell into a little bit of history. I'll tell you a few stories, all right? This is a story about William Banting. He's from the UK. He lived from 1796 to 1878. He stood at 5 feet 5 inches and weighed 202 pounds. And that was weight because obesity was not a problem. So when you weigh that much and stood at that height, it was obese, all right? And it was affecting his quality of life. He couldn't even tie his shoelace. He couldn't bend down to tie his shoelace. He couldn't walk comfortably. He couldn't walk up the stairs without panting, and so he was really, really frustrated. And he tried all sorts of avenues to lose weight. Apa dia cuba? Segala apa diet dia cuba. Okay? Turkish bath. He went on a low-caloric diet, and that just left him hungry. Alright, and couldn't sustain. So low-caloric diet was one of what William Banting tried, tapi tak berkesan. He cannot sustain. He just got so hungry. Alright? And he even tried fasting. That was good. Only thing, you don't know what he broke his fast with. Alright? He must have feasted when he broke his fast. So that's a problem. Alright, so he got so agitated and so exasperated with his condition that he sought a physician's advice. And the physician at the time was Dr. William Harvey. So dia pergilah jumpa William Harvey. And William Harvey looked at his dietary intake and saw that he consumed a lot of beer, potatoes, and bread. These are all groups of carbohydrate. So he said to please give up potatoes, beer, and carbohydrate. And lo and behold, he lost 46 pounds in a short time, or in about a year. And essentially it's a low carbohydrate diet. All right, when you have to give up carbohydrate, you go on a low carbohydrate diet. If that's what it takes to make him healthy, he went on it and he lost his weight and he regained his quality of life. And the fantastic thing is, he was able to sustain the weight loss. He sustained the weight loss for 19 or 20 years until he actually succumbed and died at 81 years of age. Right? So he maintained the weight loss for a very long time. So ladies and gentlemen, it's not a diet because a diet carries a connotation where there's a start and there's an end. So this is a lifestyle, it's a diet to promote a healthy lifestyle. Alright, so this book that you see up here was written by this patient. William Banting was so happy with his outcome that he decided to write a little book, a little pamphlet untuk kegunaan orang ramai. So his book actually sold about more than 100,000 copies across Europe, including the UK and Germany and so on and so forth. Alright, so he was really happy. So that's from a patient's perspective. Dr. Jocelyn, I'm sure some of the doctors here at least know about Dr. Jocelyn. Dr. Jocelyn was really passionate about treating diabetes, the few patients that he had, and he published a lot in Journal of Diabetes, which is Diabetologia. And in 1893, he narrated this patient, and let's call her Mary H. He get this patient called Mary H. come to him, and Mary H. has got diabetes. So he narrated, and this is his opinion, and I quite agree with him, dietetic treatment is of no importance. The carbohydrate that you take has to be gotten rid from the body. All right, the carbohydrate that you take has to be gotten rid from the body. And the kidney have to work really, really hard to get rid of it. Because if it stays in the blood, kalau sugar, kalau glucose tu masih dalam darah, you will feel terribly thirsty. These are all signs of diabetes. Terribly thirsty, which medically we call polydipsia. Terribly hungry, polyphagia. You're thirsty all the time, you're hungry all the time, you're urinating all the time, polyuria. All right? And ultimately, you will succumb to the complications of diabetes, including eye problems, heart problems, kidney problems. So it's a multi-organ involvement, and that's why it's really important not to have high blood sugar. So Mary H. was prescribed by Jocelyn to go on a diet of protein and fat, essentially a low carbohydrate diet again. All right, and beneficial effects were seen. And this was published in one of his journal articles. All right. Next one. I'm not going to go through this. Just to tell you there are a lot of physicians' protocols, and one of the renowned physicians at the time, Dr. Frederick Allen, had this quite comprehensively and quite well-detailed protocol that doctors can follow. But we won't go through it today. It's just to show you that it's published because it's got a lot of success. It was published, and the title was The Treatment of Diabetes. The treatment of diabetes at the time was diet. It was published in Boston Medical Surgical Journal in 1915. Nothing new. This is really nothing new. All right, so we've talked about patients. We've talked about articles. We've talked about the books patient wrote. Did it find its way to educate doctors? Yes, it did. It did. Previously, it did. It found its way into a textbook of medicine. The textbook is called The Principles and Practice of Medicine. And this is the book, the internal medicine book that doctors followed, that doctors used to train medical students who will become doctors later on. So it found its way into textbooks of medicine, all right? And it's not written by some obscure physician, it's written by Sir William Osler. Doctors in this audience may know that Sir William Osler is known as the father of modern medicine, and he's also, to show you how renowned he was, how successful he was in the medical fraternity, he was also one of the 4 founding professors of Johns Hopkins Hospital or University, all right? So let's look inside the book and see what he says. Hang on. The low-carb diet, okay? It's 10, I think this is possibly the wrong slide that was loaded, but it's okay. All right. So I just want to draw your attention to the 10 grams of carbohydrate. This is the protocol that was told to doctors. This is the way to treat diabetes, low carbohydrate diet, and it worked. That's why they didn't have a lot of diabetes last time. Okay, it's just recently. All right. So when did it change? When did it all change? YB Ismail is already laughing. He knows about Ansel Keys. Some of you are smiling. We all know about. Some of you may not know who Ansel Keys is. Ansel Keys is a scientist. Okay, he's a scientist. He's a physiologist. He's a physiologist, and if I'm not wrong, he majored in marine biology. Right? He's a physiologist, but he had this deep passion about human health. He's this deep interest. And he came up with this hypothesis. He generated a hypothesis, which is fat causes heart disease. All right? And this happened around the time where President Eisenhower, the President of America at the time, dia dapat heart attack. Masa tu dia dapat heart attack. And so what Ansel Keys did, Ansel Keys was also one of those very influential people, and he got a spot on the FDA, so he had a lot to say. So he studied as President Eisenhower's apa dia makan. So he saw President Eisenhower. Eisenhower takes butter, and he takes a lot of fat, and that can't be all he took. He might have taken banyak chicken, banyak bread, but he completely ignored that. He completely ignored that, this Ansel Keys, and he focused on the fat intake of Eisenhower, and he said that, I told you so, that fat will cause heart disease. And so around that time, what he did was he studied 22 countries. I'll show you the slide later on. He studied 22 countries. Dia pergi kat 22 negara, which is remarkable. If you can do such an experiment and such a research, that's really impactful. 22 negara, all over the world. He studied berapa banyak fat dimakan and how much of people died from cardiovascular disease. Alright, kita tengok berapa banyak fat makan, berapa banyak. Alright, and then, let me see what slide I have now. Okay, and this is what he found. This is what he found. Absolutely no correlation between fat intake and cardiovascular disease. Absolutely no correlation. Absolutely no association. So was he disappointed? Yes, he was. He was utterly disappointed. And unlike scientists of today, if I have a hypothesis, I design an experiment to prove my hypothesis. Kalau tak boleh prove, I throw away the hypothesis. That's how it should be. But no, he went out of his way to confirm his findings. So what did he do? He cherry-picked his results. He selected the findings that would support his hypothesis. You have funny beings in the world, yeah? So on the y-axis, death from heart disease. X-axis kat bawah tu, talk about amount of dietary fat consumed. And this, he displayed his favorite results, which shows a beautiful correlation with fat intake and heart disease. I'm not making it up, you can Google in YouTube. It happened around 1977 in America. Alright, with Ansel Keys's finding, with his findings, and the Eisenhower punya heart attack tadi, so the politicians were pressured to come up with some dietary guidelines for the American public, because they don't want Americans to fall dead from heart attack, right? So they were pressured to coming up with some dietary guidelines. So, but the dietary guideline which they depended on was the widely publicized 7-country study that showed there was a correlation between lemak and heart disease. So they depended on that, alright? Actually, I must say, this is the first time that happened that a group of politicians who are not doctors came up with dietary guidelines for the rest of the world. Alright? So it's a total disaster, if you follow me. Alright? It's a total disaster. And so what happened? What happened? This happened. Okay? They came up with this one. So this food pyramid that we have all learned about right from when we were in primary school. Daripada dulu lagi kita dengar pasal food pyramid. Food pyramid ni essentially is a low-carb, high-fat diet. Alright? Can you see at the bottom there? I mean, you all know, I'm sure you're familiar with this. It's a lot of processed carbs down there. Bread, pasta, sugar. And you are encouraged to be healthy. You're encouraged to eat lots of that. A lot of the carbohydrate. Alright? And you're supposed to take only a little bit of fat. Now I'll tell you something interesting. So a lot of industry came up with low-fat food stuff. Betul tak? If you go to supermarket, you see a lot of rendah lemak, rendah lemak, rendah lemak. Tak ada habis rendah lemak. Okay? Tapi yang high carbohydrate tu dia tak sebut. This is what happens. When you take the fat out of a food substance, it tastes like cardboard. Yes, it tastes like cardboard. It is so tak sedap. Hilang dia punya sedapness, it is so unpalatable. Alright? So to increase the sedapness, what do they put in? They put in carbohydrate. So a lot of the low-fat diet is actually a lot of carbohydrate inside it. That is to increase the palatability. Okay? So essentially food pyramid is all about high carbs, high processed carbs, and low fat. Alright? A few years later, they thought they improved on that dietary advice. But in my opinion, and yours too, I'm sure, if you can see, a large proportion of the plate, the Eat Well guide, is still processed carbohydrates. Okay? It's still processed carbohydrates. So, the history again, okay? So, to recap, Ansel Keys came up with this diet, or low-fat, heart hypothesis, alright? And against all the history, all the medical textbooks semua yang kita bincangkan tadi, against all that, plus it was also against John Yatkin's book. John Yatkin is also a renowned physician and scientist at that time. He wrote a book on sugar. He said fat is not the problem, sugar is. So he wrote the book called Pure, White and Deadly, pure, white and deadly. What are we talking about? Opium? No, sugar. Okay? So it was against all that Answer keys menang. Okay? So 1980, US issued first dietary guidelines, remember, made on false results, made by a group of politicians who were not doctors. Alright? For the rest of us. 1983, UK followed. Now, if US followed, US keluarkan, UK followed, what do you think the rest of the world did? We followed. The rest of the world followed. Quite blindly, I must say. So people were encouraged to eat what is commonly known as healthy, balanced diet. You hear this very commonly. You can eat anything you want as long as it's healthy, balanced diet. And essentially the healthy, balanced diet is all about high carbohydrate and lower fat. Alright? So what happened when the rest of the world followed? This happened when the rest of the world followed. Okay, obesity. You see, if you see US near, the one that started earliest, is it the one in green? Yeah, the one in green? Yeah, this one. So you see, the obesity rise earlier for them. The rest of the world started later because they started later, 1983 and above. Alright? But the impact is they all put on weight. They became increasingly obese. Okay? So what is so healthy about that? And look at diabetes. Diabetes is really sad. You know why? Because in 1985, and I want everyone to listen to me, in 1985, there was 1985 was how long ago? 30 years ago? 20 years ago? 30 years ago, eh? 30 years ago, there was 25 to 30 million people with diabetes. Only 25. Itu pun dah banyak kan? 25 million diabetes across the world, alright? And then we thought we were doing something so right. We talk about low carb, we talk about healthy, balanced diet. And you know what's it today? What is the figure today? 422 million. So if we were doing things right, it should be going down, not up. Okay? Now WHO, World Health Organization, they actually projected that in 2030 there will be 430 million. But they're wrong because normally we proved them wrong. We were better at getting diabetes. Okay? So now we're only 422 million. Alright. So next, let's talk about low carb. Some of you who know about low LCHF will interpret LCHF as low carb high fat, but in UPSC we call it low carb healthy fats. Alright? So we talk about low carb healthy fats. Yeah, but before we go deeper into what low carb healthy fats are, type 2 diabetes. I think when we ask anyone, including children, first of all, diabetes ada dua jenis, type 1 and type 2. Okay, we're talking about type 2 here. We ask anyone and everyone can tell you, type 2 diabetes ni, apa dia kencing manis? Kencing manis tu ada banyak gula dalam darah. Everybody knows that. Now, what people don't know is that kenapa banyak gula dalam darah? Sebab insulin yang tugasnya untuk kontrol gula tak lagi berkesan. So ultimately, orang yang ada kencing manis, ada gula yang tinggi melambung, ada yang selalu di test oleh doktor, or you all at home, okay, your family members or friends. Yang tak ditest even in hospital setting ialah insulin. And insulin is the fundamental. You get your insulin down, you actually, I don't say reverse, you actually control your diabetes. Okay, so it's really important to get the insulin down. Okay, insulin is primary, okay, the fundamental pathology. And so this is a bit about functional medicine because you're going to the root cause of the disease, not the symptom. Okay, not the symptoms only. Okay, this is what happens when we take in glucose. Okay, when glucose is in the body. This is what insulin is supposed to do. It will convert some of the glucose into energy. Like I'm walking or people are exercising, so they use a bit of glucose, alright? But you don't need too much for that. You don't need too much glucose. So sometimes you have too much glucose, that some glucose, rightly so, are converted to stored energy, which is glycogen. Tapi glycogen tu ada dia punya hadnya. Not a lot of glucose can be converted to glycogen. Dia ada had dia. Okay? So bila dah cukup had dia, tak boleh lagi buat glycogen, what will happen? The glucose is acted upon by insulin to become lemak badan. It becomes adipose tissue, it just becomes fat. And this physiology has long been known, but I guess it's not emphasized in medical schools, it's not emphasized in clinical years. And this is really something that medical schools should be looking at. Alright, let me ask you, if you wanted to reduce obesity or reduce the fat in the body, what must go down? If you look at the slide, what must go down? Insulin must go down. No insulin, hardly any fat, because it won't be converted. Insulin, as I put out there, is a fat storage hormone. Alright? No insulin, less fat. How do you reduce insulin? Remove the glucose. Okay, remove the glucose. Kalau makan juga sugar, memang insulin akan meningkat, memang dia akan menyebabkan diabetes dan memang dia menyebabkan obesity. Okay? So my patients come to me and say, but doctor, I don't take sugar anymore. That's fantastic. I really applaud them. I've stayed away from fizzy drinks. I don't take soda water anymore, and that's fantastic too. It's really great. And I take kopi o kosong, I take teh o kosong, and that I applaud them for giving up the sugary drinks. But the problem is the sugar is still high, so where is the sugar coming from? In the next few slides, I will show you about where sugar comes from, and I must express my appreciation that my doctor friend, Dr. David Unwin, who practices in neurosurgery up in the UK, he's given me the slides, okay? So it's mainly Western food, but a lot of Western food are also available in Malaysia. Okay, but before that, glucose is the smallest unit. Okay, smallest unit of molecule of carbohydrate tu, apa-apa karbohidrat kita makan, yang paling kecil molekul dia tu, glucose. Apa-apa kita makan tu adalah rantaian glukos. Nasi, rantaian glukos. Pasta, rantaian glukos. Potatoes, rantaian glukos. Kalau dia rantaian, bila dia masuk dalam badan kita, dia dicernakan untuk membentuk the smallest molecule, which is glucose. So eventually, whatever you take, okay, whatever carbohydrate you take, will be absorbed as glucose. Alright? So this is what? This is what? You see? Basmati rice. And serving of 150 grams of basmati rice, according to David Unwin, and he's published his results in a journal of insulin, I think. And 150 grams of basmati rice has got 10 teaspoons of sugar. So that's where the sugar is coming from. Alright? Actually, I knew I would get some murmurs when I showed this slide. So it's okay. I was expecting that, okay? So potatoes, ubi kentang rebus, huh? 150 grams. Does it become sugar? Yes, it does. How much of sugar? Well, a worth of 9.1 teaspoon of sugar. Right? What about French fries? Kita tak goreng lah sebab kita tak nak lemak tinggi. Kita bake. Okay, kita bake. So we should be healthy, right? It's baked French fries. So how much of sugar is there? 150 grams is 7.5 teaspoons of sugar. So that's where the sugar is coming from. You go down, okay, we don't want rice lah, don't rice. Doctor, kalau saya tak makan nasi, boleh tak saya makan spaghetti? It's also a frequent question. Okay, spaghetti of 180 grams is 6.6 teaspoons of sugar, alright? Corn, jagung. The jagung is very interesting. Jagung macam very innocent food substance lah. Very innocent. Betul tak? It's very innocent. But actually jagung rebus, how much of sugar? 4 teaspoons. And you can eat a few jagungs, you know, and your sugar will spike. Now I want to take the opportunity here. Jagung is actually the cheapest source of sugar, which is used widely in the food industry. Kalau you pergi supermarket, you tengoklah bahan-bahan yang beli yang low fat tu, yang healthy tu, kan? You tengok dia tak kata gula, dia tak high fructose corn syrup. There is nothing but sugar. Alright? Now sugar, you must educate yourself. I don't think we'll have time to do it here, but you have to educate yourself. Sugar is very good at disguising itself. Dia ada banyak nama. Kita ada 1 ke 2 nickname, dia banyak betul. So you have to educate yourself to find out what their nicknames and what they hide behind, okay? So going down the list, broccoli is very healthy. Broccoli is very healthy. It's 80, you probably won't take 80 grams of broccoli. So whatever, hardly any sugar inside that. Okay? Broccoli can be very palatable. Okay? Eggs. Eggs very healthy. If you're talking about low-carb diet, low-carb lifestyle, low-carb diet, itu pasal kita jamu 4 apa tadi? 5 meter? Ada 4 stall, okay? And that was for a reason. That was our strategy, alright? To get you on board with us before you even start the seminar. Alright? So let's move on and see type of fruits. A lot of patients ask me, whether I talk to scientists, whether I talk to laymen, whether I talk to doctors, I get a question. Excuse me, can I take fruits, you know? So judge for yourself. It depends. The answer to it depends how bad your sugar is. It depends on how much weight you want to lose, and it also depends on how serious you are at wanting to be healthy. I think that's it. How serious you are at wanting to be healthy. Kalau nak serious, jauh lah daripada makan ini. Itu tak ada kata makan setengah banana je, tak satu, tak dua. Dulu makan 2, sekarang makan setengah. Tak, it all adds up. Setengah nasi, setengah banana, setengah itu, setengah ni, lama-lama jadi a few setengah lah, ya. Alright, so grapes are heavenly. It's very nice and sweet and refreshing, but it's got a lot of sugar. You can tell kan. Grapes, so at least banana tu taklah manis, dia lemak. Tapi dia banyak karbohidrat. Bila datang dia akan dicantas jadi glukos sampai tu reabsorb. Alright? Grapes tu memang manis. Alright. So 120 grams of grapes has got 4 teaspoons of sugar. Watermelon yang banyak air tu, okay? If you take a lot, 120 grams, that's 1.8 teaspoons of sugar. Nectarines, apricots less, and strawberries. Okay, strawberries. Usually we say last but not least. Ini last and the least. Okay, strawberries is last and the least amount of sugar. Alright, so that's why the people usually it's expensive. I know strawberries, blueberries, semua ni expensive. Tapi kalau nak makan pun nak nampak dia punya khasiat tu, tak payah nak makan satu bungkus kalau beli. Okay, makan nak 1-2, kena disiplin diri. Alright. I don't have it. I can perhaps get a list of our local fruits and send it to Unwin to actually do it. Actually, David Unwin visited me about 2 weeks ago, and he said, you know, Nafeeza, he said, I look at your fruits here, all the fruits are all carbohydrate laden. That was the first thing that struck him, all the fruits. But Jambu Batu, I'll make a mental note of that to ask David whether he can get his professor friend to convert it for us, yeah? Now, bread is the other one. Doktor, saya tak boleh makan nasi, roti boleh tak? Roti putih kalau tak boleh, roti brown boleh tak? Tengok sendiri, ya? Tengok sendiri. Roti putih, kalau 30 grams kalau besar, one slice is 30 grams, is 3.7 teaspoons of sugar. And if you're talking about brown bread, it's 30 grams, it's also 3 teaspoons of sugar. Kalau you tengok, okay listen, kalau you tengok paket roti tu, satu buku roti, memang dia letak healthier. Memang dia letak healthier. Daripada 3.7, now it's only got 3.3, right? But it's a lot, it adds up, okay? So if you ask me, if you're really serious about health, should you be taking brown bread? No, you should. Alright? Now what else is marketed as good? What else is marketed as healthy? Dapati wholemeal bread, okay? 2.6 teaspoon. Pita, adalah pita, supposed to be healthy. Wholemeal pula supposed to be even healthier. So that's about 3 teaspoons of sugar, alright, for 30 grams. Alright, so now we go on to see what a healthy breakfast. Remember the healthy, balanced meal that we all should have? The cereals that we should all include in our breakfast. Remember? The bread, the cereal, and the very, very healthy fruit juice, remember? Let me read to you. Bran flakes cereal, 30 grams, 3.7 teaspoons, right? Ini very healthy ni, okay? Apa makan hari ni? Cereal. Tak makan lemak, oh tak boleh, okay? Okay? Milk, 125 mils, which is about half a cup. Okay, 1 cup is 250 mils. That's 1 teaspoon of sugar. It adds up. Brown toast. 30 grams, you toast it, it becomes about 3 teaspoons of sugar. Pure apple juice is pure poison. For those who want to control their sugar, right? It's pure poison. It's got 8.6. And how is this healthy? How is this making us good? How is this keeping obesity and diabetes at bay away from us? It's got 16.3 teaspoons of sugar, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you want to know nasi lemak, you just substitute. Nasi lemak yang kita tak kira lemak ni, nasi je, basmati ke, jasmine ke, it's about a few teaspoons of sugar. One teh tarik is about 3 to 5 teaspoons of sugar. So katalah 10 teaspoons of sugar from the nasi yang nak lemak tadi tu, plus another 3 to 5, so it becomes about 15 teaspoons of sugar, and we don't need dietary sugar, full stop. Okay, we don't need. Now, 16.3. Why are we asking? For the doctors in the audience, why are we asking? For the doctors who are not practicing low carb in the audience, I know a lot of you are, okay? For the doctors who don't know this, why are we asking patients to consume this healthy breakfast, which has got 16 teaspoons of sugar? Why are we doing that? How much of sugar do you think we need in a day? A little bit more than 0. This is what we need. Just 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon of sugar. 1 teaspoon of sugar at any one time in our bloodstream. But it says, does this have to come from a dietary source? Kena makan kan ni? Tak payah makan. Kenapa? Kita dah ada inbuilt factory to make new sugars. And what's that factory called? Liver. It's liver, yes. Liver is a factory to produce new sugar through the process. A bit of medical jargon here. Gluconeogenesis. Gluco to glucose. Neo to new. Genesis to buat gula baru. Itu yang 5 gram sudah cukup dah. Alright, so that's all we need. Right? I don't. Okay. Sorry, I don't have all the. We try to get a World Cup for the Malaysian diet. Alright, but I have to get David Unwin's help on this. Okay. She just gave me about 10 minutes left. Okay, so we just have to continue. So low carb. What is low carb? It's fiber, the carbohydrates that you take. Kalau low carb too, it comes from vegetables. Low carb comes from fiber-rich vegetables. No processed carbs. Again, I'm telling you, it depends on how serious you are about your health. All right. Adequate protein, and protein usually is from chicken, beef, fish, and eggs. Adequate healthy fats. YB Dr. Azman will be talking to us about healthy fats. Okay, a little bit of quiz here to see whether I've made you understand some things. Okay, which of the dishes on the slide today we can eat? A is masak lemak ayam, and usually there's no sugar. I'll give you a hint. There's no sugar in masak lemak. I don't know whether you all put sugar, but I don't. Masak lemak ayam? Yes or no? Yes. Of course you can. Okay? Of course you can. You can. B. Yeah, you can. It depends on how serious or how strict you want to be. Some people won't even take because they know the starch rubs off into the gravy, so they don't want to take that chance. Alright? But if you've got nothing else to eat, I say eat. Just leave out the potatoes. Okay, just leave out the potatoes. C is ikan bakar. Great source of protein, very low carb. D, ikan goreng. Yes, of course you can. The problem is in the sambal. Yeah, of course, it depends on, thank you very much, sir. It depends on what oil you're using. You would want to use healthy oil. Alright? So the sambal is, the problem is in the sambal. How sweet is it? We like sweet sambals. Kalau tak sweet, tak sedap, kan? Alright, but you can train your body. You know, you can train your tongue. You can train. You want to be healthy. You don't live to eat. You don't look for your next meal. You eat to live. Okay, we have to change the mindset. E is it okay? Ikan? Lose the tepung, people. Don't quote with tepung. You don't need the tepung. The fish is good on its own. That's why the fish comes naturally tak ada tepung. Because it's good on its own. Alright, it's good on its own. Vegetables, okay? A is kangkong. Very good fiber, yeah? B, you can perhaps take the protein but lose the Yam lah. But it's nice, I know, okay? But again, it depends on your metabolic health and depends on how serious you want to be. C is great, okay? Sayur campur which uses apa? Bunga kobis. Cauliflower dengan, what do you call it? Add some cheese, yeah, why not? Cauliflower and broccoli, okay? And some mushrooms there, so it's good. D, also, sorry? Which one? D? No, it's potato. Okay, so it's not. Okay, it's not. E is bayam. Okay, so that's fine. So just to give you an idea, and you will be kenyang. Don't worry. Ada yang saya bagi ke rasa, apa dia kata? Macam nak mati. Saya rasa je macam nak mati. Believe me. Okay? Rasa je. Look, this is a low-carb meal. This is a low-carb meal, okay? How not to be full with this, okay? You have your chicken, you have 2 servings of vegetables, you have a great omelette, and what's the other one? No, so brown rice pun is what? Cauliflower rice. Cauliflower rice, okay? And this is actually taken from my home because I served David Unwin, my low-carb TP friend, in my house, lunch, with low-carb Malaysian food, and he was delighted with this. And because he was so delighted with my low-carb meal, and I suppose my enthusiasm, he is bringing down people from he went back and told people in the UK, and so more of them are visiting us. And they want to start a low-carb initiative in Malaysia, inshallah. Yeah? So does it work? Alright? So does it work? Because it's all theory. Okay, so I will just be illustrating very quickly to you cases. These are real cases, not ones I made up. Okay, one from David Unwin's clinic, one from the Duke University up in North Carolina, Eric Westman's clinic, and some from UITM himself. Okay, this is a 43-year-old patient, David Unwin's patient. He lost between June and December. He lost 14 kilograms. All right. Well, I had the privilege of seeing this patient because I did a short attachment with David Unwin, and I saw this patient. He was 43 years old, and I would never have imagined if about 6 months ago he was depressed, he was heavy, he walked with a tongkat. I would never have imagined. Because when I was seeing him, he was at his best. He lost the weight that he put on. You look at the second slide tu, yang HbA1c tu, for those of you who are not familiar, HbA1c adalah average gula in the past 3 bulan. Okay, it gives you an average. Alright? So dia punya HbA1c 10.4, which is horrendous, which is very bad. Okay? After 6 months of being on low carb, it came down to 6.1, which is not diabetic. Okay? He cannot be diagnosed as diabetic at 6.1. But he has to treat this as a lifestyle. Chances are, if he goes back on a low carb diet, it will go back up. Alright? And then the 2 slides down there depicts how healthy his liver is. When he came, when he had increased body weight, when he was fat, or when he had a high sugar, it also affected his liver. You know, this sugar is a really terrible thing. It affects all sorts of things in our body. Liver lah, kidney lah, mata lah, semua habis. So after 6 months, dia punya liver pun normal. Okay, the liver enzymes have come down, and now he doesn't have fatty liver anymore. And if you want to see at the top corner there, I put David had to take him off his anti-diabetic medication because for fear of his sugar coming down too low. Okay, and he was also off painkillers because he had to take painkillers and NSAIDs because of his arthritis. But since he's lost the weight, he no longer needs them. So I just might want to mention here that David Unwin ni punya klinik adalah satu-satu klinik yang ada banyak lagi lah, but he's one of the clinics he was one of the earliest that started. And he saved, just from one clinic, he saved the government, he saved the National Health Service of the UK £45,000 a year because he took patients off the medication. How much we can save, yeah? How much we can save? Okay, he took patients off the medication, right? And the thing is, the difference is, the government there, they recognize his contribution and they awarded him with the NHS award because they appreciated his contribution, right? Now this is Eric Westman, okay, also a real patient, 70-year-old patient, has been diabetic for 14 years. Tadi muda, then you always say, tu muda boleh lah, ni yang tua. Okay, 70-year-old. Tuan boleh juga. Actually, 70-year-old is not tua anymore, today's age, okay? Because people lived up to 120. So we all toddlers here. So, after 2 years, after they started in 2012, after 2 years, she lost 30 grams of weight, body weight. Dia punya HbA1c pun, gula pun turun menjunam. 7.5, tu really diabetic. Now dah 5.5. How great is that? Okay? And she was on total units of insulin, 100 before she started the low-carb diet. Just 1 week. This slide is from the internet. That's why it looks a bit dirty. It's from the internet. But I met Eric Westman himself at San Diego last year, and I asked him himself, and I listened to him speak himself, and he said after 1 week he had to halve the insulin, half, and then he have to pay insulin. Macam Datuk Bakar tadi kata, mahal. Kalau kita dapat free, kita tak rasa. Tapi kalau kita bayar, baru kita terasa. You know, banyak duit nak keluar. So 100 units of insulin lepas 1 minggu jadi 60 units. Second week less than half. Third week he had to discontinue. Otherwise it become hypoglycemic. Alright. UITM punya experience. This is our first experience. Before low carb, he's a middle-aged, he's a 45-year-old gentleman, has diabetes for 4 to 15 years, decided to start low carb. He started at 312 pounds or 141 kgs. Lepas 7 bulan, he came down to 232 pounds or 105 kgs. HbA1c was 8.6. And it came down to 5.4, non-diabetic levels. It came down to non-diabetic levels. Listen, the one in the yellow box, all the good ones, without medication, just low carbohydrate, with no medications. Insulin daripada 12 turun ke 6. Insulin yang kita nak memang single digit. Memang single digit. That is the optimal range. Optimal range, for those of you who are interested, is 3 to 5. Okay, that's the optimal range. His BP was better controlled, 160/100 after 7 months, 110/70. Fatty liver resolved, alright, and loss of sensation. Kan diabetes ni, it affects because microangiopathy, which dia menyebabkan kerosakan nerves, kan? Tak boleh rasa kat kaki semua kan. So when his sugar was controlled, as insulin came down, sensation started to return. How fantastic is that? Our second patient. Now, this patient is a 48-year-old patient. She came to me when HbA1c was 9.8%. And at that time, she told me the reason she made a decision to come to the clinic was because her doctor wanted to put her on insulin and she did not want that. She wanted to try a more effective approach, a dietary approach, okay? So just after 1 month, I saw her again. We repeated the HbA1c, it came down to 8.5. And after 2 months, it came down to 7.7. Still some work to do, but you see the downward trend, all right? Insulin, at the point where doctors wanted to put her on insulin, her insulin dah memang tinggi, dah 35.8, dan nak letak lagi insulin buat apa? Right? So 35.8, so she was put on low carb. After 1 month, it came down to 19, almost half. And then it came down to 15.7, still a while to go, okay? But we gradually, small step until we get there, inshallah. Alright, and the last one is fatty liver. We actually did an ultrasound on her, and she had fatty liver, but her liver enzymes resolved after 1 month. Resolved. We've not done a repeat ultrasound, but it's fantastic. The enzymes have all normalized. The next slide actually blew me away. The next slide really blew me away. Look, 113 of insulin. I was shocked when I took the blood and sent it for insulin levels. 113. Mind you, optimal range 3 to 5. Dia punya 113. But what blew me away was not the 113. What blew me away was after 2 months it came down to 5.7. I had told him, let's work on this together. Let's work together, and we will, from 113, we will target for double digit and lower double digit until we get single digit. But he defied all that advice, and he came down to 5.7. So I really salute him. Whatever he's doing, he must be doing something right. All right? he kept to the low carb quite well. So does it work? Hooray, it works, yeah? No question, it works. Okay, I just thought I'll share about the advice from the UK. Now, Diabetes.uk is a formal organization in the UK, Diabetes.uk, okay? Their position on diabetes in 2011 was that of high carbs. Don't ask me why, but that was their position, okay? 2017, they have changed their position, and you can find this position stand on their website. The current evidence suggests that low-carb diets can be safe and effective for people with type 2 diabetes. All right? Hopefully, the world is changing. And hopefully, Malaysia will too. And hopefully, UIT MPSC will take the lead. Okay? So, in a nutshell, we have to lower our carbohydrate intake, just take healthy carbohydrates in the form of fiber-rich vegetables. This will normalize blood glucose level. This will bring down insulin levels. When insulin level comes down, the fat will melt away, and your hunger, incredibly, insyaAllah, will also go away. Alright? Kalau insulin tinggi, memang rasa nak makan all the time. So when insulin is down, when you convert your energy does not depend only on glucose, it's now depend on the healthy fats, your hunger will go away, insyaAllah, okay? But people ask me, how long? It depends on the person. It depends on your metabolic health, okay? And it depends on how strict you are with the diet, okay? But listen, it takes as short as 1 week to feel good. Betul, Dr. Azman? Okay. I think this is my last slide. No. Oh yeah, I thought this is important to put because some of you may want to try, and some of you who are on anti-diabetic meds, especially whether it's oral or insulin, please embark on if you want to embark on the low carbohydrate diet, you must do it under supervision of a physician, all right? Because otherwise you may run into problems. Because it's a very potent, it's a very effective tool to control blood sugar. All right, and I thought it was my last slide, but I have to pay tribute to all these resources, okay? The gentleman up there is Jason Fung. I met him in San Diego, so this was me quizzing him about his book, okay? He's a nephrologist which has started intensive dietary program management in Ontario, and it's got great success. He also advocates fasting. All right, and this is Eric Westman. This is Jeff Volek. His book was also one that I referred to, okay, the low carbohydrate living, Jeff Volek. Nina T. Charles has written about Big Fat Surprise. And Gary Taubes is a fantastic speaker and a very well-read person. Now, Nina T. Charles and Gary Taubes, they are not doctors, they are investigative journalists. Okay, Nina T. Charles sebelum dia buat buku ni, dia study fat, so I think about 8 to 10 years. Baru dia keluar dengan buku. Okay, and it has been given credit even by Lancet, if I'm not wrong. Huh? That's Unwin holding his recognition plaque by NHS, and that is my my newfound GP friend in Somerset who lent me some slides. So I've got his picture up there to pay tribute to him because I use his slides. And these are the other websites. Okay, for those of you who are interested to see more research on low-carb diet, please go to www.publichealthcollaboration.org. They frequently update their randomized clinical trial and the list of research. All right. With that, I thank you, and let's make it work for Malaysia.